Thank you for joining For You Lab Life. This series is an educational series to bring lab information to eye care professionals each week. I'm the host, Mark Clark, along with Alex of POG Labs. And then we always have a special guest this week. It is Carla Maxon from IoT Labs, and we're happy to have you here with us today. Alex, what is our topic this week?
We are discussing all things digital freeform. So freeform lenses versus branded progressives. In this series, we really try to focus on some of the misconceptions in the optical industries, the biggest ones, biggest misconceptions to what we understand to be, and then, hitting those head on. So starting off today, we've brought along IoT to start talking about what actual freeform progressives are, why labs use them, and how they can benefit your patients, and how they can benefit your bottom line is going to be one of our biggest things that we discuss today. So, Carla, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I think this is great. This is another method of just getting the word out and educating folks about who IoT is. I know that we kind of are one of the best kept secrets. A lot of labs know exactly who we are, and we partner with several all over the world. But we really want, the ECP to know who we are, what we stand for, and also, give them confidence in, understanding that what we make and what we design is top tier technology. So what you see on your screen right here, this is one of our founders, Daniel Crespo. He's actually the CEO of our company and is housed in Torrance, California. So we have two innovation centers, one in Torrance and one in Madrid, Spain. And the three founders, Daniel Crespo, Jose Alonso, and Dr. Juan Antonio Quiroga, they all came from the University of Spain, and they specialize in advanced optics and geometry. They're just very, very smart men. And they came to the conclusion in 2005 that they really had the know-how and expertise to enter this new realm of freeform technology and kind of level the playing field. Now we were able to create designs in software-based servers. A lot of the machinery had been advanced to have these freeform digital lines. And so we really came to the scene and kind of made a disruption because we did everything that the major suppliers weren't. We were giving all of our top tier technology and supply, or our top tier technology and design intel to our private label products and allowing labs to private label them. And so it's been very, very successful. And so as you can see here on this next slide, we were established in 2005. Our main goal is to develop ophthalmic lenses. So we're always looking for unique ways to solve problems or to, make lenses better, if you will. We were the first ones to make fast fadeback photochromics, and then the rest of the market followed suit. That was a big issue. So we're always looking for ways to innovate and, find new ways, new technologies out there. So a lot of what we do is patented. There actually is, based studies and statistics and wear trials to really show that what we do is an improvement. It's not just an improvement of marketing. Again, we have two of our we have two research centers, one in Madrid, one in California. And then we just actually brought on another office in Minnesota. So we've got a couple of places that all of us convene and meet and kind of all work together. Right now, we're making about 35 million lenses annually. We have over 400 partners worldwide, and we're present in 69 countries. So even though we might not be the most well-known, to some of the ECPs out there, we are definitely a juggernaut out there. We're partnered with Younger Optics. So I know a lot of people know that name and what it stands for, independence. And so that's really our mantra, is to be independent, to help the independents from top to bottom. So really, we stem from academia. So our main focus is optical research, development, and innovation. We use intelligent technology. All of our designs are free-form technology, so this allows you to create an individualized fit for every pair of glasses that you dispense. And we have a very large portfolio, from progressives to specialty lenses to single vision digital as well. And we really strive to have close relationships with all of our partners. So we walk into this as a partnership. We're never looking to, take their business. We don't own a lab, so we're not selling anybody's customers. We're primarily here to support our partners. So labs like POG, really getting behind them, giving them the tools to succeed and to make some of the best lenses that come off their process line. And when we help them, it helps everything they do. So we're not just helping IoT designs, it's everything that happens on that process. And so we're also very determined to keep the momentum, keep something in the pipeline, always looking to, kind of challenge the status quo. And we realize that things change at a very fast pace. So we want to make sure that we're always leading with, the latest and greatest things that can compete with your national brands just as good, or in most cases better than. Not biased at all. But yes, so it's been a pleasure. I've been with them for the last 8 years. And
So it's
just seeing us grow over the last couple of years has been phenomenal.
So it sounds like you guys are very much a technology company. I think it's sometimes when we see a name that maybe we're not as familiar with. I'm very familiar with it because I think the IoT name is gaining a lot of traction in the groups and blogs that I like to associate with as an independent optician and an independent-minded person in our industry. That I see it recommended a lot more in groups and things like that. But I think, sometimes the history of optical as a whole makes us think that, for instance, CR39 came into our industry as a failed government project to make plastic windshields, and then we took it and some people made it better, and et cetera. So sometimes we see a lens company come on the scene or something, and a lot of times it's like they bought a bunch of blanks at an auction and they started some company, but you guys didn't come at it that way. You started with the concepts of the latest technology that was out there and said, hey, I think we could plug this into optical if we give this a try. And I think that's one of the interesting things, that other companies were in the old way of molding a lens and said, oh gosh, can we change somehow? Can we somehow squeeze into this technology? And you guys said, we love technology, let's build lenses. And I like that direction there that that you described.
Yeah, I think you pinned it perfectly. We are a technology company and we specialize in ophthalmic solutions. So, if you have, an idea that relates to sight, we want to listen to you. Now, it might not go all the way to fruition. We might not, bring it to market, but in a lot of cases, we can work hand in hand and make something individualized exclusively for you. So, we have I don't know if anybody is familiar with In-N-Out, but In-N-Out has a very set menu, but there's a secret menu. And so, we can take all the elements that make that main menu and create something new or create something specifically for your need. If you have something like maybe you want, a lens that's specifically for shooting, and you really know like the needs, the visual needs, and you see that, what's out on the market isn't really catering to like that specific market, you can sit down with a company like us and we would go from start to finish, do wear trials and, create something that would meet that need. So that makes us really different. I don't think there's anybody really out there that's able to have that type of flexibility. And another point of our designs, a lot of times, people are used to ordering what they order, but maybe there's, some type of shortage, or, there's a back order on a product, or maybe they're just having a hard time fitting a patient because, maybe there's some decentration issues, not that ever comes up. Or there's, an element that doesn't allow that initial product to be, what we want for the patient because of all the parameters that the lab has to go through. A lot of times people will just revert down to IoT because we are so flexible. that we can solve a lot of problems. So a lot of times, some independents get to know us by just us being the ones that solve their problem. We get the lens out. We have, no constraints on what lens blanks we use. So if there is a back order on that product, Alex can swap it out, get another lens blank, and be able to put an IoT design, get it to your patient much faster. And so again, we're just here to try to solve some problems in that regard as well. So we are kind of building some fanfare on social media. I'm glad that, our name is getting out there more. So hopefully through doing more talks like these, you guys will, give us a chance and, try out a little bit different, than the status quo, but knowing that, your patients are going to be satisfied at the end of the day. That's what's most important.
For sure. And so, as we transitioned, from that point, and we're talking about, the difference in your company, and it's relatively, it's older than people think, right? But it's relatively young. And
in the optical world, we're babies.
In the optical world, it's relatively young. And so from there, we kind of transition into what does that mean for your practice, and how can that benefit the practice? And you've described the nimble nature of your company, which I think, goes all the way back to how it was formed, because, Henry Ford came on the scene and he said, I'm going to build cars, and I'm going to do it in a way that nobody else ever has. And then all of the old carriage companies said, oh, I guess we're going to have to figure out a way to become horseless carriages. And so they started trying to cram his technology backwards into stuff. And you lose that ability to be nimble and innovative. And that's kind of what you get with, more of a youthful company in our industry. And then that empowers the practice to, to be more nimble and innovative as well, which, gives them that ability to have unique solutions, but as well as that power of a private label.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we're talking about the power of the private label today. And, I think, labs really understand, cost is a big issue. Being able to have the flexibility of what you can stock and what suppliers you work with is also, your overhead cost. And so, people who are business minded really look at IoT, and it's a no-brainer. Once you, trust the product, we gain your credibility through, proving that our lenses work and patients are happy with them. You really do see that our next kind of step in the process of doing business is to help you be healthy and profitable. And, instead of giving you tons of kickbacks, you can take the money you save and do whatever you want with it, right? I'm not going to, keep you in the box, if you will. And, today with optical just really facing so many more pressures, consolidation. We just came out of a little thing called the pandemic, which, severely put constraints on the supply chain, what was available. There was something that it had never happened before, and a lot of people, needed to get that job. They couldn't wait, 4 to 8 weeks, for that specific, brand that was coming from overseas, because who knows, it was stuck in the strait on that. We've all seen the pictures of the cruise liner being stuck in that channel for weeks. And so really just kind of leaning into your optical, your independent opticals, getting what you need, getting the patient satisfied, especially in such a stressful time. And so, I know that that next year, 2023 is going to come with its own, triumphs and challenges. And, this thing called consolidation is not stopping. And so, as independents look for ways to, continue to keep their doors open, we want them to be profitable. We want their patients to be happy. So I think putting in a strategy of private label is really a lifesaver for a lot of different reasons. And I mean, I have several testimonies from labs that said, We've been the most profitable with IoT. You've helped us out with our process. We're making lenses better than we ever did before. And, you saved our business. You allowed us to keep our doors open. And so those stories continue to come in, and it's real. It's real that things are changing. It's not like it was 20 years ago. And we really need to be, mindful of those changes and look for ways to partner with folks that really have our best interest in mind.
Yeah. So, you mentioned a new year, new challenges. One of the challenges that we always see in a new year are all the new insurance contracts that come out and the reimbursement rates that plummet. And I will call it Company A and Company B, so I don't end up on a watch list. But last year, Company A said, hey, factory so-and-so, we can cover all of your employees for this much a month. And then Company B says, well, we're not losing that contract in 2023. We can go even lower. We're just going to pay the doctor's office and Alex less, and then we'll get that contract, because it doesn't matter to us what we pay the office or pay the lab or anybody else. So that is the game that every year just gets a little bit lower and lower and lower and lower. And I found that a white label, private label lens was a great way for me to expand my margins, because I would tell my customers when I was dispensing, hey, let's use your benefits on your contacts, and then I won't be stuck with a brand that your insurance company makes me use. Mm-hmm. I can use something that's better, newer technology, get it to you for less than your copay would have been, because some of these progressive lens copays are up to a couple $100 sometimes.
Right.
And I could essentially upgrade their technology, get it to them for about the same price that they were paying. I would give them a little discount on their frame, and it would look like their glasses were covered and their contacts were covered. And they were just like so happy that I had found a way to do that for them. Mm-hmm. And I was happy because I sold an annual supply of contacts and a pair of glasses, and the glasses were a cash sale. And my margins were better because I was using a private label lens that was newer technology, that was free form, that I knew my patient was going to be happy with. And it was just a win-win. I was happy, the patient was happy, my lab was happy, my insurance biller was happy. And those are the hard people to make happy, those insurance billers. So anytime you can make them happy by just having them enter contacts in is an easy thing for them. And then it gives you that freedom to sell the products that you want to sell for eyewear. And the great second pair, sunglasses, to get them in a better product and increase your margins, because you start adding on polarized, high index or poly, progressive in another frame, and that tag starts going up, and that second pair seems way out of reach. And you can bring that back into reach with a private label lens from your lab. And Alex, what are the names of your private label lenses? I'm not as familiar with them as I am our frames that we supply with you.
Yeah, and our go-to is, and I love the name. It's and we come up with all of our own names, of course, but the best is Icon. That kind of our go-to lens is called the Icon, and it really has, it's lived up to its name. It has really been iconic, and it goes into many discussions that we've had in these trainings. I mean, we pair it with an AR, an in-house AR, which I know we kind of talked about yesterday, leading up to this discussion. I mean, AR, if you go back and watch our other trainings, of course, we try to link all these together. There is freeform in AR too. There's freeform in lenses. There's a lot of freedom in the optical industry that we as the lab want to push towards you. We want to push it towards our customers because we know the benefits. One thing that keeps coming up in my mind is, we get a lot of pushback for quality in terms of the price. The price is really low. Why is the price really low? The immediate thought goes to, well, the quality is not as good, which is absolutely not the case. And Carla can attest to this because we have a lot of the same theories, concepts in our two businesses, independent labs and IoT, work so well together because we're not spending the money on huge marketing. We're not spending the money on commercials on TV. We're not buying, pens and pencils to send to our customers. We're not buying all that stuff that jack up, our click fees. The click fees stay low. And then of course, this is real, actual freeform technology where we have the freedom to do whatever we want. We could use whatever, design from IoT. We can use whatever lens blank we want to use. And that is not the case with other companies. Other companies force you to use certain lens blanks. They force you to use certain designs. And when they do that because they want to jack up their lens blank costs and they want to jack up their click fee costs. Okay. So the Icon has been great in terms of saving our customers money, saving us money, being able to combine multiple different, freeform products, AR and the lens together. And then of course we have a full series of digital freeform technology that we call 4U lenses, 4U gold, regular 4U, and we have a POG HD high definition lens. So you will find a lot of good, better, best models. Totally up to you where you want to fit your good, better, best. If you want good, spend a little less, or you want the best that we're offering, the Icon lens, package it with the AR, and have a little better product at a little higher price point. That is our thought process, and it's been working extremely well. The only problem now is we have to get some opticians out of their comfort zone and give it a try.
Yeah, and along that line, I have a slight confession, Alex, that I've never told you. And that
I'm ready.
I was, don't throw anything at me. I was a rep for one of these lab lens company conglomerates at one point, and you had an account in Kentucky that had like 10 locations, and they were not going to switch from your Icon lenses. I went home and got my pencil out and sharpened my pencil as sharp as I could go. And then I got your pamphlet out, looked at your prices, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do it. I never did figure out how to get in there, but
yeah,
they loved your lenses. They loved your pricing. They were having great success. And all their second pairs, all their cash sales were going to those particular lenses, and they were not going to budge from it. And it's funny how, we've talked about this before, but a lens is this clear thing, and it's invisible. We're selling something invisible. It's hard for us sometimes to trust something new. And hopefully that's what we're establishing for everyone today, is some level of trust. You're seeing that the technology is there and that people are using it, and it's a way for you to break free of the monopoly that's on the screen here.
I was going to say, I love the new slide. I have a feeling where it's going, and I think we're about to turn into the fake freeform progressives and hear more about those maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, with the future of our industry, at the end of the day, who owns the relationship with the patient is going to own the business, right? So this, meeting of the minds to try to figure out, how we can get you to fall in love with our brand. But I think IoT really helps you guys have your patients fall in love with you. Like what makes you unique, how you cater to your patients, that bedside manner that you have, the expertise, the way you style, all of those elements are what will protect, independent brick and mortars from, online sales. Because let's face it, a lot of times people can just go on there and buy a pair of glasses. They're not a name brand glasses. They're not name brands for the prices that these folks are getting them at. So it's shown that folks are really more interested in having an experience, and that experience they have with you can be very hard to duplicate when you really just show up and do what you do best and take care of patients. And so I think the offices in the future that really cater to their expertise are not trying to be everything to everybody, but they really hone in on their niche, what makes them special and unique. They'll build that community to, continue to thrive in all these different situations. So, it'd be great to try to be everything to everybody, but let's face it, you can be good at a lot of things, but you can be great at one thing. So finding out what that is, and really serving your community in that regard is what's most important and will keep us independents alive.
Yeah, and I think it's good to say too, I mean, the IoT freeforms are not just, free forms for the lab, for us to use as we like. It's to use for the ECP as well. It's a free form for you just as much as it is for us. I mean, if someone, walks in the door with a conventional progressive and, your ECP and your patient want to say, oh, yeah, these are, I know what these are. I've seen that these leads are reading before. I get you the exact same thing. You love this land, it's been working well for you. We get the same thing. In your office, if you're using, digital freeform designs, the icon, whatever it may be, your patient is stuck with you. If they're going to love that lens and they're going to come back every single time because they know that you are the only place that they're going to get it from. I know I kind of mentioned before we spoke, and just kind of briefly, I was telling these two that we work a lot with conventional labs, conventional surfacing labs, and it's kind of funny when they send work, to a digital lab like P&G, and they get a freeform progressive and they give it to the patient, and the patient comes back to me later and says, "Wait a minute, before." The freeform progressive is beyond. And then we hear from our conventional lab customers that say, I got to be careful with these things because my customers are starting to ask for them more. So it's really, I mean, there is an actual visual change in, things that we hear from our partners that really have really stuck with me. So that it is a good thing to include in this part of our discussion.
Yeah, and we're getting to years ago when freeform first came out. I was working in a laboratory. It was my first optical job, and it was just a thing that I would read about in magazines. It was primarily being used by Swiss watchmakers so that they could have a little bubble of magnification in one part of the glass lens and make the glass lens crystal on the watch the way they wanted to and do different things. But I was reading about it and I said, this is a game changer. If we can get a better product with, at some point, and it takes years to pay off the technology and the research and everything else, but at some point with less overhead. Mm-hmm. And that tipping point I thought would be like in a year, but it actually has been a lot longer to get to where it's, paying off the technology but in a sense, we're at this place where you can pay more for an old design branded molded lens that doesn't serve your patient well in some scenarios, then you can get newer, wider, smoother, more balanced technology with a better design for them, sometimes at the same price or less than an old molded blank. And one of the things that you mentioned, Carla, earlier when we were talking about this was that what happens when your customer breaks their glasses on vacation, goes to one of your competitors, or some box place that may be selling a freeform technology, and all of a sudden they see better and wonder why you've been holding out on them.
Right.
And that really is a problem. And I would say the number one reason why some opticians are holding out on them is just the fear of change. And what if somebody non-adapts? Well, chances are that person was going to non-adapt anyway. They either hated their frame, hated their prescription, or they were just looking for a reason to not like it. I mean, occasionally there's some little blip or some weird thing that happens, or we messed up the PD or whatever. But today's designs, it's not like it was when we were fitting adapter and Panamic. I mean, we're light years. We need to forget about all that.
Right.
We're in a whole different world now. It's like the adapter to me was like a stick shift. You remember the Yugo car? It was really small, like a stick shift Yugo. And now we've got air ride suspension Cadillacs. So it's like a different world. And now, some of these differences are getting less and less. And I used to tell customers, it's kind of like stairs. And either way, we need to get from here to here. And there are some better ways in between to get from here to here. And we can move your distortion around. We can make these bigger steps that are harder to take, but take up less room, or we can, there's different theories that we can impart. But once we went digital, a whole new world was opened up, and we weren't just limited to how we could mold something. Now we can optimize that distance between A and B, put the distortion where we want to put it, get it closer to the face, create the keyhole effect, and all of these different things that we can do with freeform. That's wonderful. And it really is a better world. If you haven't come into it yet, please do. And it's not as cost prohibitive, because I remember wholesale on my first freeform lens, wholesale. Back in like 2005, wholesale back then was over $300 on the first freeforms that came out. And we've come a long way price wise. You can really save your customers some money and get them a better product.
For sure. Yeah, this is kind of like, when everybody went into the flat screen TVs when they first came out. They were thousands of dollars. Now you can go pick up one for $100 at Costco, on a sale. And it just shows you, as the market changes and as more people have demand for it, it's going to bring the cost down. So we're in this digital age. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to retro back. But I love this slide here, because it really kind of shows, I'm an 80s baby. So, I remember if you had the generic brand back in the 80s, it was like, oh my God, don't show your face. You had to have the name brand. And a lot of times the generics, you could tell it was very, cheap. It wasn't very good. I can kind of equate to Kraft macaroni and cheese to the generic box in the 80s. You definitely wanted Kraft. It was a big difference between the two. But these days, because there's been so much advancements in manufacturing, technology, design, with the internet, being able to, be in this technical world, we're able to make those products without the brand and cut the cost. So you're getting the same quality. And in some cases, you're getting something that's better. I know Costco has a model for their Kirkland series, is that, they pick the two best brands in that particular segment. And that's what they lead with. Like, their brand is the best. They want their brand to outshine the competitors in that space. And so people have come to know, and hey, if it's Kirkland, it's a great brand. Even, Gap, Trader Joe's. I love Trader Joe's. A lot of the stuff that's in there is all, private label, if you will, but they come to different suppliers, and they're able to market their product with, the latest and greatest, or the best in that best in class, if you will, in whatever product that they're trying to private label. And so that model has definitely changed over the last 30 years to where generics were kind of scary. But now, I mean, even when you go on, websites, buying things from Amazon, a lot of stuff is not branded and it's just as good. And, the patient's going to want to, save money, or the consumer is going to want to save money. They want their dollar to go as far as it's going to go, especially now with inflation. That is a real thing that we're all being impacted by. We don't want to give up, high quality products and buy something lesser. But a lot of times the consumer at this day and age is, willing to give up some of those name brands. Now, some stuff we know it's got to be what it is. They need that brand. But in a lot of, everyday items, especially with things like lenses, where there's really no way to showcase what kind of lens it is, the patient just wants to be able to see and to see well. And when it performs well, they're happy and satisfied. And then knowing that, hey, this is an individualized product made just for me. It's not mass produced. It really does cater to, the needs out there in the market and what people are shifting towards. So, I know brands have their place. Brands will always have their place. I think it's what makes us unique and what allows people to get to know us. But I think it's kind of leveling the playing field to say that, there's only this, special few that, have the ability to have a high quality product. People want to try other things and want to, see the benefits of it. So I know a lot of these examples here, we could tell stories all day about how they've been able to market themselves with their own in-house products, and people go there maybe specifically for that private label product at that retailer.
Yeah, I think in this, in our industry, we get kind of stuck in our own little world, and ECPs and retailers need to keep in mind, at the end of the day, you're really no different than other retailers in any industry. And just for an example, Costco, I use Kirkland golf balls, and that's it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, to figure out that. I go through, 10 golf balls every time I go golfing. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the summer, ordering Costco Kirkland golf balls rather than Titleist, I'm going to be saving more money by the end of the year. I mean, that's not a hard thing to figure out. And you can, look at that in terms of an eyewear perspective. At the end of the year, if you're ordering, the name brand, lens, you're going to be spending more money by the end of the year for something that works just as well. I promise the Kirkland golf balls I can hit just as far as the Titleist golf balls. Maybe even better, honestly. Another great thing that I always use when talking to customers about digital freeform is I'm like, walk down the Kleenex aisle. You look at the Kleenexes. We refer to them as Kleenexes, but they're tissues. They're tissues, and you blow your nose in the same Kleenex as you do, the off-brand tissue. And it's kind of the same with glasses. I mean, you're looking through, the name brand lens, and you might be looking through a tissue, and it's going to be, it's going to work the exact same way.
I think the difficulty, there's a couple of things that confuse us in our industry. And part of it is that the lens is invisible and there's no way to really inspect this. Like, it's been kept a secret from us what the actual math is, and we don't know. So it's mysterious to us. And Carla, you brought up Kraft mac and cheese. That's my heart there. I love Kraft mac and cheese. My kids love Kraft mac and cheese. If I come home with anything else, they're like, "Dad, what do you do?
What did you do? Go back.
What did you do?" Because I get my kids on the weekend. I cook for them. That's a staple in our house. And if I bring something else home, they're like, "What is this, Dad? What are you trying to do to us?" But we inspect it, we taste it. We're like, this does not taste the same. Mm-hmm. And so, there's Kraft mac and cheese, and then the other brand, we only buy it for one reason, because it's cheaper. And when we think of white label and private label, it's cheaper. So then we make this association in our mind with the mac and cheese we don't like, or the Sam's Club cola that doesn't quite taste like Coca-Cola. It's right. Close, but it doesn't. It's just a little bit off. And we make that association. Whereas, yes, it's not Kraft. But this mac and cheese is mama's mac and cheese, and you ain't gonna pass that up any
Oh
day of the
yeah.
week. That's the homemade. And so when we think of private label, we need to think of mama's mac and cheese that we're going to have at the holidays versus any of the other two.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's a different, sometimes a different recipe. Yes, sometimes, but it's made with love. It's better. And it may even be cheaper when mama makes it than when you buy craft, but it's not, it's that price association. We have nothing else to go on because both of them are clear. So we're just like, I don't know, one's more expensive. It's got to be better. And it's just not. And that's the difficulty in selling an invisible product. It's up to us reps. Can we come up with a more clever term than the next company? So I think that's really the difficulty.
So yes, I really like this slide because it talks about how, when you make something unique for the patient's experience, your competitors really find it hard to be able to duplicate what you do. So, when you have that scratch mac and cheese that, is your family recipe, Kraft is great, but it doesn't hold a candle, to like your unique spin on it, that you've spent time on. So I think, we are asking you for a little bit of more work. You are going to have to kind of experiment and, try something a little bit new out of the box. But at the same time, at the end of the day, the goal is for you to remain profitable, to keep your doors open, and for you to continue to serve your community in the way that you serve your community, right? So again, we're going to get into the 3 ways that ECPs can stay competitive with private label. So we're going to go into that next slide. The first one is differentiation. So, national brands you can buy anywhere. But what makes you different is by having something that is, just specifically something that you can sell from your ECP. So when you have a unique lineup of products, when you're able to sell or educate your patients on, different specialty lenses, like office progressives or drive progressives or, digital single vision, things that are going to really help and promote, better vision overall for the patient. But then you have your own flavor, if you will, that really keeps you top of mind. That makes you different. That makes you stand out from the crowd. Because when a patient's, they don't know all the nerdy stuff that we know about optical. They just know they need an eye exam and a pair of glasses. And so when you can do something to make their experience unique, and that, really is easily done by having products that are not found other places and by educating them on products that probably folks just kind of skim over. They're like, well, you got your one pair, that's it. And it's like, take the extra 5 minutes and let them know about, that they can get an RXable sunglass. There's so many people that still don't know that sunglasses are RXable. They see them in the gas station and they just figure, they're all the same. So if you take that time, educate them, realize that you're planting a seed, you might not get that second or third pair, but maybe in a month or 2, they come back to get them because, it's kind of, itching, man, I should have got that, sunglass, or I should have got that digital progressive for the computer, that office progressive. So, having that uniqueness and, educating them, because a lot of people aren't. So if you're the one that educates them, a lot of times you're going to capture that business and you're going to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah. I like what you said about differentiation, and I've heard a lot of hype about your computer/office lens and how remarkable it is. And I've known offices that somebody comes in and says, I got 4 screens I look at and I just can't do it. And that became a standard question of mine to customers. How many screens do you look at? Because I've got 2 or 3 here in my office. Right. Everybody's got a number of screens. A regular progressive's not going to do it for them. Their neck's going to hurt. They're going to be turning a lot. It's terrible. And they need a pair for their office. And the way one guy sold it that I loved is a lady had come in one time and she says, the way I sit in my hot tub, I can't read my books. The way that my neck rest is. And he said, well, I'm going to make you some spa glasses. And before you know it, all of her friends were coming in asking for spa glasses. And it was his own recipe, but he was basically selling a computer lens to her that he called a spa glass, and it was his own, and it creates that loyalty and that special touch that we've been emphasizing here and there.
Right. Funny how that works, like I said, you can't be all things to all people, but you can zero in on your expertise. And every patient that comes in your door, they know people. They're probably married, they have friends, they have coworkers, things like that. And our vision is a huge part of what we do, right? And so it's definitely something you want to remark on, like, wow, I just got these new lenses. I never heard of an office progressive before, or I never heard of a driving lens that specializes in being able to see better at night. These really work, and word of mouth is not going away. We're always going to brag about something that was impactful, something that we liked. We're always going to share that with folks. So that leads into point number 2 is this helps us with patient retention. When you have that unique product that can't be duplicated by other people, and when you are featuring things that are individualized specifically for that patient, it really helps those patients find you out to come back the next year, because you're probably inundated with a lot of online retailers, things like that. You want your patient to kind of scratch their head and be like, you know what, I feel more comfortable just going to the place that I always go. I don't know if I want to risk it. And a lot of times with some of those solutions, though they're nice to have, I think that we do a much better job by being hands-on as medical professionals, as eye care professionals. There's things that we can solve that you just can't really do, on a computer all by yourself as a consumer. They're lost. So keeping that top of mind and realizing, hey, I can keep them coming back because I know what I do is a huge service and it's going to be helpful. And without having a background in optics, I don't know how somebody would just kind of go through the process of getting a progressive online. It seems very complicated. So, we still have that edge. So let's not lose it and let's capitalize on it.
Yeah, I really think going into the future, that is our primary edge. It is how we service that customer and solve their unique issues, because a website can't do that.
Right.
Websites are great. You should have one. You should put as much stuff on there as you can. But at the end of the day, this is still a very important puzzle piece. So.
Personal touch.
Yes.
AI can't do that. It's probably never going to be able to do that. I don't know. So we need to look at ways, to keep, the human aspect, the care, all of that is so important to folks, especially nowadays, because we really are kind of locked into, more digitized things, and it stands out in people's mind when you do go the extra mile. I think it counts so much more than it always counted, but I think it just is more of an impact. And then last but not least, another reason why is to control cost, right? You want to remain profitable, especially in these times. You also want to have that partnership with a local lab that can answer your questions, that can help you out, that can service you and get you what you need faster. Again, we had some supply chain shortages the last couple of years. And those can pop up at any time, especially with this winter storm that's coming through. You want to think we're going to have a couple of back orders? We might, and you want to rely on folks that are local and that can get you what you need in trying times as well. So I think, did we go on the next slide here?
I had clicked to check the chat, and when I clicked to check the chat, it changed our slide.
No worries. So yeah, you're going to want to lead off with your patients, of course, with who you are, the essence of what you specialize in, and you want to back that with the technology, the benefits, and the value across the board. So it might sound like we're asking you to do a little bit more work, but I feel like this is going to keep you stable through some of the hard times ahead. So many countless stories I heard over 2020, 2021 that, having a relationship with that local supplier was one of the main reasons they were able to continue to process jobs, or, to get that job back, or the horror stories about, things taking, 4 to 8 weeks to come back. So you want to make those relationships when there's not a crisis, so you know who to call and you already have that, relationship going, and it's good to go. But, if you do find yourself in that area, you want to make sure that you are partnering with a lab that features, these key benefits, the benefits, the technology, and the value. And I know that POG does an excellent job of providing top tier quality products at affordable cost, and they get it to you fast.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we haven't mentioned yet. I mean, we continually, as IoT updates, we update as well. They're updating their designs to being the newest and best thing, and labs follow suit with that. There may be other designs, the conventional designs, obviously, that do not, keep up with with the technology that these freeform companies are. And again, we've said it before, but IoT is a technology company, so they're the best technology they're putting in our hands, and we of course pass that right along. So another important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to mention, because as I was in the lens world for a while, and repping for labs on a national chain level, is we used to say, when I first got into optics, we used to say that the name branded companies dumped their old stock on big chains as
Good point.
as their entry level lens, etc.
Mhm.
But we're at a point where that old molded stock has disappeared, and they're now, so that they don't have to switch production. Sometimes their mid-grade lens may be a okay freeform product from the branded company, and we need to be technology leaders on the independent side, because that's our thing. And heaven forbid, just because we've had this old mindset so long, heaven forbid somebody gets a pair from a chain that may have some better design qualities than what we've been fitting from the name branded, the older conventional designs that we've been stuck with in a mindset of fitting sometimes just because of that brand name. And meanwhile, that same brand is cutting a better deal to a chain for a better product.
Right.
And now you're really in trouble if your patients try that lens, and you haven't offered that technology. And the great thing about a private label is it's enabling you to compete at that level now, because you're not paying for that name, you're not paying for those extra clip fees. Now you can offer better technology and get a deal, maybe not as great as a massive global company with deep pockets can get, but you're still able to compete on that. You about your designs, and you're able to service their needs and get them a great price by cutting out that extra layer that's in there of marketing and fluff and all of that. And really that's how they were cutting a deal to begin with, was cutting out some of that marketing and whatnot with them. So it's very, very important for us to grasp that chains and online stores, maybe they don't have the service we have, but they're gonna have the products that are similar at some point. So we've got to get on the next level, and learn about them, know about them, and service our customers. And going through a product like IoT, you can get the pricing to stay competitive while you do it and be able to offer those better products.
For sure. The biggest thing is just fighting against complacency. I know it's easy, it's what you always done, but sometimes like everything, the one constant is change. And just, a lot of times that's a very scary word to to have to deal with. But, you know, with the right partners, finding people who get it, who have already made that investment, who've taken the time to learn the products, you know, IoT is here to always, you know, train, troubleshoot. You want help on how to fit, you want to understand, you know, that's our partnership with Alex to help. He's got a full team of people, you know, to walk you through the process to be able to, be able to get into this new digital world and whatnot. And I like what you said, Mark. I think it's our duty really as independents to be at the forefront of that technology, or at least be aware of it, and not be scared of it. Because, you know, a lot of times, I mean, if you look at overall who's getting dispensed, there's the majority of consumers are going to independent practices still. I mean, it's a big chunk of the market. You guys still have that power. So it's up to us to educate. I see office progressives in CVS. So like the over-the-counter readers. So I mean, there's demand for them, but it's not even close to what we can produce for a patient. Not even the optical quality could go on and on and on. So we should be the ones that are at least educating them, and keeping that business in a controlled environment where we can really cater to their needs and understand, you know, their eye care much better. So I know we kind of went over time, but I really like this quote because it's true. You know, what matters now is trust, permission, remarkability, leadership, stories that spread, and humanity. So we want to have connection, compassion, and humility. Seth Godwin has written several books on, you know, knowing your tribe and Purple Cow and a couple different things. And I think really that's where we can just shine as, you know, opticians, ODs, you know, lens manufacturers, labs, whatnot. What we do is very specialized. It's very unique. It's very niche. And the folks that have, you know, put in the hard work, you know, we really need to stay in touch with what's going on, but then realize at the end of the day, it really is based on relationship. And, you know, our special sauce or our secret recipe for mac and cheese that'll keep the relatives coming, even though you might not want them over. They're coming to your house for Christmas because they know you've got the secret sauce. So, you know, keeping that, you know, at the forefront and having fun. You know, let's make it fun. Let's lead with new technologies and have those relationships and, you know, spice it up a bit. You know, it's change is inevitable. So you might as well just roll with it, you know?
Exactly. I like what you said about this quote here, that it mentions trust, because as we've talked about selling an invisible product, there's so much trust there. We trust the lab trusts you, our customers trust us. And, you know, hopefully today we built some of your trust in the technology that's behind the IoT lenses, and, you know, why it's good for your business. And, you know, for whatever reason, we place a lot of trust in different places, and it's not always about brand. You mentioned Amazon has their Amazon Basics, and I'm sitting in an Amazon Basics chair right now in my office, and I trust it. It's been holding me so far. So
yeah, and I guess, you know, last thing is just, you know, reach out, you know, with questions after you watch this video, or you want to get started, or you want support. Reach out to us. Like Carla said, we have a full team. We've been through many IoT trainings. We are your experts. So, you know, we're not going to pretend like we know, you know, everything about your practice, everything about your business, but we do want to let you know what makes sense in our industry and what's working for people and what's saving people money, you know, making more on your bottom line, and making your patients happy. So it's a big, you know, thing that we should look at. It's a small change, and it's an easy change. So if you're ready to do it, reach out, and we're more than happy to help with that transition.
Yeah, and thank you all. Thank you, Carla. I really enjoyed it. I could talk about this stuff forever because I'm fiercely independent. I just believe it so much. And I think one day I might get hauled off by a white van for how independent I am. But So far today, I woke up in my own bed, so that's great.
There you go.
Yeah.
Change is inevitable, Mark, so watch out.
Yeah. All right.
But
Well,
I just
thank you
wanna
all
say
so much.
thank you,
And we will
Patrick,
have
for
these.
staying online.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll have these available on YouTube, like all the rest of our series. And join us again, January the 4th, is it?
4th.
The 4th. So, all right. Thank you again.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you,
great
guys.
holiday, everybody. Take care.